This is the Project Management Podcast. We bring project management to beginners and experts. Find us on the web at pm-podcast.com or send your emails to info@pm-podcast.com. Hello and welcome to episode number 139. I am Cornelius Fichtner. This is the Project Management Podcast for the 22nd of January 2010. Nice to have you with us. Setting up a project management office, a PMO, is one of the toughest assignments that many project managers will ever work on. These projects have high visibility, dozens of stakeholders, tight budgets, and sometimes even customers that want you to fail. So it's always refreshing to be able to talk to someone who was successful in this endeavor and learn from their hands-on experience on how they did it. Peter Taylor is the PMO Director at Siemens PLM Software, and he has a successful PMO story to tell. You have met Peter previously on the program. He is the author of The Lazy Project Manager. In the discussion today, we are going to take a look at his journey of setting up this PMO, from inception to what it is like today, to where he wants to take it in the next years. One quick note before we get started. Here are the winners of Michael Aucoin's book. Scott Tunmer and Pavel Vokun will both receive one copy of Right Brain Project Management. Congratulations. And now, the interview. Peter Taylor is a commercially astute professional who has achieved notable success in project management, program management, and the professional development of project managers. He currently works as the head of a PMO at Siemens PLM Software, a global supplier of product lifecycle management solutions. He is an accomplished communicator and leader, always adopting a proactive and business-focused approach. And he is the author of The Lazy Project Manager, as well as a professional speaker. Enjoy the interview.
The Project Management Podcasts feature interview.
Today with Peter Taylor, PMO Director at Siemens PLM Software.
Hello, Peter, and welcome back to the Project Management Podcast.
Hello, and it's great to be back. Thank you.
Oh, great to have you back. You wrote a white paper which is titled The PMO, a 3-year journey. And in the very first sentence, you talk about ROI, return on investment. Where does the ROI and your PMO meet?
The ROI, I think, meets the PMO in two areas. So the PMO that I head up as one of the PMOs within PLM Software, it's all about supporting our project managers as they engage in external projects on customer sites. So the PMO itself has to represent some sort of ROI to the organization, i.e. Siemens. I mean, they invested in the development and continued investment in the growth of this PMO. So we had to demonstrate return on investment for that. But secondly, by supporting the project managers and effectively being a supportive overhead, if you like, to the projects that are going on within customer sites, we're trying to drive through higher quality and trying to guarantee the return on investment that our customers were expecting from us when they invested in the software, the services, and the project management from Siemens PLM Software. So the touch points for ROI and the PMO are in those two areas, one with the customer projects and one with the actual PMO itself.
I see. That makes sense. I didn't see the second level there. I would have assumed, yes, ROI. Siemens needs to see an ROI for making the investment in the PMO. But of course, you want to take that to the next level so that when your customers use whatever methodologies and processes the PMO provides, that their projects will be more successful and therefore provide a bigger ROI to them.
Absolutely. If anything, the second level is the internal one. The first level is actually the customer one, because we want the customers to be happy and we want the customers to come back and buy more. Fundamentally, we are a software business, and therefore it's very, very important that they see value in the investment they put in place.
Right. What I always do before we start these interviews here is I go out on Twitter and I about the interview that's coming up, and have a few questions that came in from Twitter, pretty much live here. And the first one I have from you is from Steve Romero. His Twitter ID is ITG Evangelist. He is a, passionate advocacy for helping enterprises realize the power and promise of IT governance. And his question is a simple one. Did you define any specific business objectives for your PMO? And if so, who defined these business objectives?
Okay. Yes. Always, as ever, with the simple questions, it's quite a complex answer, probably. But so the sequence we went through was the head of or the VP of services within the organisation was an advocate. He'd seen PMOs work in the past, so the battle was won there at the beginning, and he's the guy that brought me on board. But obviously, what we had to do is we had to engage in each of the countries. I represent EMEA. Therefore, each of the countries had a view in this because they carried a proportion of the overhead of investing in the PMO. And therefore, we presented to them the sort of strategy, first of all, of what the PMO was about and what we wanted to try and achieve. And then we surveyed them and asked them what are their top issues that they faced in the projects at the moment, and based on that, which ones could the PMO assist in, and what was the priorities for the PMO to focus on. So it's and I think this is something that's going to come through the whole of this interview. The whole thing was a very slowly evolving, ever-changing engagement, consideration, input type process that we've gone through, and I think that's paid dividends where we are today. So yes, business objectives were set, and they were set by discussions and reviews with a whole group of people, a whole group of stakeholders, if you like.
And I can tell you, if you talk to Mark Perry, who is the host of the PMO podcast, whose focus really is on PMOs mostly, he's going to love you. Because he says if your PMO is not constituent based, so if you're not going out there and if you're not talking to the people who will be using your PMO and find out what is it that you want, and then you take their input and turn their needs into the goals and the business objectives of your PMO, you're doing the wrong thing. He says your PMO is either constituent based or it will fail. Those are the two types of PMOs that exist. Period.
I think they're very wise words from Mark. Yep.
Yeah. What is the overall role of your PMO? What came... Oh, wait. There's one thing that I wanted to quickly say. You used the term EMEA. For those people who don't know what that is, Europe, Middle East, and Africa, right?
Yes, that's right.
Yes. Okay. So back to my question. What is the role of your PMO that you finally defined based on all these interviews then?
Did we define it or not? Again, has it evolved? The role, there are a number of models for PMOs, and typically you talk about a supportive PMO where it's helping out the project managers with expertise, templates, best practices, etc. There's a controlling PMO where it's got more of a desire to gain more power, if you like, in the projects and the activities and processes and procedures. And there's a very directive one, which is actually the absolute takeover of projects. And often in those situations or that model, you'll find the project managers are actually embedded inside the PMO. The PMO that I lead, it's a very small group of people. It's three people apart from myself. Obviously, covering the whole of the region that we've got, and some 200 plus projects. It is very challenging. It has to be a very light touch that we put in place. But I'd say the way we have developed the PMO, it is a blend of all of those things. So our primary focus is to support the project managers out there. About 115 project managers, 200 projects, as I said. So supporting them as best we can with expertise, templates, and guidance. We will, where we see some sort of need, offer more of a controlling approach in some areas, particularly where we see fixed price projects, for example. And in some cases where a project has gone very wrong, and these are very rare, or the project is taking place in a strategically awkward location for us, where we don't have an office or something like that, or we have a weak partner perhaps, then we will actually take ownership of the projects themselves. So it's a blend of all of those things: supportive, controlling, and directive.
Let's open up your white paper, because in the white paper, I've seen something that will be very interesting for the listeners, and that's the 5 Ps that you have in there. And for those of you listening who are wondering, well, where is the white paper? It should automatically have downloaded, because we included this in the podcast feed. If it hasn't downloaded, please go to the PM Podcast webpage and look for this particular episode here, and you will find a download link of the PDF document of Peter's white paper. And this is on page 3. There's this blue graphic, EMEA PMO, the 5 Ps. And I'd like you, Peter, to tell us a little bit about these 5 Ps here. If we can go through each of them and tell us what your focus is, what it is that you're doing for each of these 5 Ps. So the first one is people. What exactly do you do in the area of people in your PMO?
So people, yes. With the focus when I joined the PMO, or we started the PMO rather, was the fact that there was a real challenge in getting people on board. We needed more project managers, and therefore under people we focused on recruitment and job profiles and induction to begin with, of actually bringing project managers into the business. It seems an awful long time ago now, but that was the focus at that point in time. So recruitment, profiling the actual roles and induction, getting people up to speed as quickly as possible. For the rest of the team, we identified a need through a survey that we did, that we really needed to give these guys and ladies some formal training in project management. I think a lot of software companies, the project managers had become project managers really because they hadn't really done anything wrong on the projects up to that point, and therefore were deemed to have the authority and the experience. But actually their level of formal training and actually certification as well was really quite low. So under people, we also focused on training and certification and assessment of the project managers as well, a mechanism where we could standardize using the job profiles on the competency capability of the project managers. And part of that also was team building. When I came on board, there was no such thing as a project management community at all. And therefore, we began a lot of activities on newsletters and conference calls and shared experience and stuff like that. So that was people. Mm-hmm. The second area was process, and process was all about methodology. There was a lack of a constant and a comprehensive methodology available. Really, this was just a matter of putting together all of the great practice that we saw around the world within Siemens PLM, and the process also of actually going through the certification program. Quality assurance was part of that process. We needed to focus on quality assurance, the authority of the PMO itself. What was the process and how did we get engaged, and the process for the assessment of the projects, the project managers, and the organisations. So people and process, they were the first 2 areas that we looked at in some real detail, and that took the priority to begin with. I was quite pleased, actually, when I reflect back now, that actually we also moved forward onto the next 2 Ps quite quickly, and that was promotion. And promotion is all about promotion of what the PMO is about. So it's internal communications to everybody that could use the PMO, had used the PMO, and what benefit they got out of it. External communications to the customers to understand what the PMO could do for them. And honestly, marketing everything that went on to do with the PMO. And in the early days, I'll be very open. We laid claim to anything and everything that the PMO had touched on, even ever so lightly. I mean, these days we can be far more specific on the benefits we bring the organisation. And that paid dividends later on in the fact that we did make the PMO very visible. Fourth of the main Ps is the performance. I mean, obviously the PMO itself, we wanted to look at the performance of the projects. Therefore, the project reporting was important. Project profiling as well, making sure we had the right understanding of the projects and who should be looking after them, what skills were needed. Running a scorecard, and we're back to ROI. We did actually look at the ROI for the initial funding and for the PMO, and during the last couple of years, we have also looked at how we could grow the PMO and justified it through that ROI mechanism. And the fifth one is the project management information system, the underlying systems, which actually was the last thing we've got to. I mean, we had a lot of make-do ad hoc systems in place. We've just moved on to a formalized professional service automation system right now, which is giving us some great benefits.
Mm-hmm. One question I had in regards to the processes, because you're an EMEA PMO, what certification program do you advocate in your PMO?
Well, we advocate the PMI's PMP.
Really? Really? Yes. I would have expected that you're going for Prince 2.
No, we adopted the PMP because it was seen to be the most globally
I see.
recognised. However, said that we can swap it out. We have a number of people who are Prince 2 certified because of the local need and for the fact that that's what they wanted to focus on, has business benefits. So we're not saying no to anything else. The general guideline is PMP. The options are there for Prince 2. But right now we're migrating into the Siemens certification, which is not an external certification process. It's an internal one, which goes through a peer review and a presentation of project experience, etc. So the PMP has been the foundation for the last couple of years, but we're moving up now to the Siemens model.
Right. Okay, so the 5 Ps were people, process, promotion, performance as the main Ps, and then the fifth and last P was product, PMIS, project management information system. That was the 5th P right there.
It works wonderfully in English, but for the most of the countries I engaged in across Europe, they said it didn't make any sense at all.
I believe you. I believe you. We have another question from Twitter coming in. This one here is from Ryan Endress. He is a PMP, and according to his bio, he is a full-time, all-the-time project manager. I like that. Nicely done. Yeah, well, you only have 140 characters for your bio on Twitter, so he's done a great job there. His question for you is this: how long does it take to build a PMO from scratch?
How long does it take? I mean, it's the piece of string question. What is it you're trying to achieve? What sort of PMO? I would say the model I've talked about, we became effective within 6 months of starting up. And we became effective because it was just me to begin with, I think. And it was also that I just said yes to everything. If anybody asked anything relating to the projects, I said yes, and I tried to get involved and I tried to help out. Much of that early work was not within the scope of the original idea of a PMO, but what it did was show willing and get people engaged and show people that there was some value in at least talking and using the PMO. It's a really difficult question to answer. It really depends what the end goal is for the PMO.
Yes.
And what you're trying to achieve.
Well, your white paper is called the PMO, a 3-year journey. So that means in your case, it took 3 years. Why did it take 3 years?
Well, in my case, it has taken 3 years, and we're not at the end now. The journey will continue, and that's what it is. It is a journey. We have grown over the years. We've done different things in each of the years. We've tried to focus on what's the most important thing, and we continue to do that. There will be a 4th year, there will be a 5th year, and I don't know when it will end. But the PMO is continuing on a journey to support the business and support our customers.
Right. So you're not saying it took 3 years to implement. You're saying it took us about 6 months, then we were effective. And then in the next 2.5 years, we just evolved, grew, refocused, and improved on what we already had.
That's right, yes. And the first 6 months, in fact, the first year was a lot of it was around baselining and understanding what the business challenges were. Yeah,
let's do that. Let's go through the 3 years quickly here. So year 1, baselining. What exactly did you do in that time?
Okay, so in year 1, it was understanding what on earth was out there. So we did a number of things. That was honest.
I completely understand. I've heard that so many times when people said we're building a PMO and we're going out there, we're trying to determine what's here, and suddenly you get, we have 649 projects. Right, and you have to figure out, is it really 649 projects or what's going on here? So yes, I completely understand when you say we have to go out there and determine what we have. Discovery, yes.
Yes, so discovery was done in a number of ways. The formalized way was we ran a maturity assessment based on the Kerzner model, which gave us some insight into how the organization looked at itself as far as project management sophistication or maturity. We looked and talked to the project managers. We ran a survey of them based on their how many years experience they'd had in project management, how much training they had, what level of certification there was. We also asked them their top 3 issues, and something wonderful happened there because project managers can easily find 3 things that annoy them, keep them awake at night, have problems. And we've run this survey 3 times now, and I'm about to run it in the early part of 2010, and I'm sure the project manager will find another 3 things. But based on their issues, we've focused our priority on having kind of action plans, and the development of the methodology was one of the things they said in the first year. We haven't got a methodology. Well, we worked on that as a global team. We delivered a methodology and that dropped off in their importance, and something else replaced it. And the last one was it was all about it was called Bring Out Your Dead. And it was an amnesty on projects. So project reporting was taking place, but bear in mind at that point in time it was not a centralized system. It was people reporting, transferring onto spreadsheets up out of country into the European level, and the information was unprovable in many cases. So we just had this belief that actually perhaps things weren't quite as rosy as people suggested. So we had this Bring Out Your Dead process where it says, look, come on, just to talk to us. This is not going to go up to the executive level. We're not going to report on you. We want to understand how we can help. So tell us the truth about your projects. And I'm sure we didn't get a complete and every part of the truth, but we certainly had some interested insights into the projects, and that took a lot of focus for the first year or so.
And then probably year 2, we're talking about implementation, adoption of these things as a main focus.
Yeah, year 2 was about the training of the methodology. We trained all the project managers and consultants around the world. We focused on adoption. As a PMO, we started doing originally they were called audits rather, and we've changed them now to health checks, because health checks are seen as a kind of warmer, more cuddly word than an audit, which is a cold hard when things have gone wrong concept for people. So we do health checks now. In the second year, we went in and looked at some of the larger projects at the end of the planning phase to see if we could help improve the likely success. We started doing retrospectives at the end of the large projects as well. And we started working much closer with a lot of the project managers to support them in their project work. And by that time, the PMO had grown to 2 people. And in year 3, it was all about if you like, empowering the local service teams, the local project managers. So the PMO grew to its current size of 4 people. So we have a project support manager who looks after all the reporting and compliance activities, and the second project manager joined the group to run a few projects, as I mentioned earlier on. But the essence of that year was about taking the capabilities that we had in the PMO and delivering them into the local organisation. So we taught people how to train themselves in methodology when new people joined. We taught people how to run health checks so that they could run them themselves. We taught people how to do retrospectives. I mean, again, when I talked about the 200 plus projects, you can see that there's no way that the PMO, even with 4 people, could actually stretch themselves to getting closely involved with a lot of these projects. So it was very important that the project managers became self-empowered.
Mm-hmm. Take a look in the future for me, will you? What is going to happen in year 4, maybe even year 5? Do you have any plans that far out?
Yes. So the year 4, obviously, we are planning now for that, and the focus is in a number of areas. The PMO is going to grow a little bit again. So in fact, we're kind of splitting the PMO into 2 halves. One will focus on one half of the EMEA zone, and the other one will focus on the other half, so they can get ever more closer to the projects and the people involved. We're also focusing on program management, which was seen as a weakness, and we're also focusing on things like organizational change management, which is one of the common issues we've identified in health checks, that it kind of falls between ourselves and the customer in many cases. So that's sort of the primary things. On top of that, I mentioned already that Siemens have a project management discipline. The company I represent, we were purchased by Siemens 2 years ago, so we're still in the process of being brought on board and adopting all of the processes. And they have a thing called PM at Siemens, and so another focus for the year will be the continued adoption of all things PM at Siemens. In the longer term, I don't know what the PMO is going to look like in 5-6 years' time. I've always had the view that it will exist as long as it's providing benefit to the business, and if any given time it can be absorbed back into the local countries, then I haven't got a problem with that. I think if that happens, then the job will have been done for the standalone body that is the PMO.
Mm-hmm. Let's move on to Twitter again, because we have a third question that came in from Twitter. This one comes to us from Chicago, Illinois, and it comes from Soma Bhattacharya. And she says in her bio, I'm a business analyst and aspiring project manager who likes to brainstorm new ideas, travel, write, and track emerging trends in Web 2.0, and all of that in 140 characters again. Very nice.
It's a new art form, isn't it? It is a new art form.
And by the way, I just noticed her last tweet went to you. So yes, you seem to know her, or at least be in contact with her. Here's her question. When you are starting out in the world of project management, can you afford to be lazy? If yes, how? And let me answer that. Let me answer that, because this is definitely the word lazy. That refers back to your book. That's what we had you on for last time. Your book, The Lazy Project Manager. Where do I have it? Wait a sec. Here it is. Hardcover. Subtitle: How to be twice as productive and still leave the office early. Soma, I don't think Peter talks just about being lazy and doing nothing. Peter talks about being productively lazy. If you turn the book around, on the back it says here, Peter Taylor reveals how adopting a more focused approach to life, project, and work can make you twice as productive. So even if you are early in your career, you can be lazy in the way that Peter advocates it. You can be productively lazy. You can focus your energy on these areas where you're really good and do the things more effectively. And yes, that's how you are lazy, that's how you can be lazy, and how you can be successful. Now, Peter, you're either going to support what I just said, or you're going to rip me to shreds. Which one is it? Am I on the ball?
I think you're on the ball. Yes,
Okay,
yes.
good.
That's a good reflection of the book and a good answer. Yeah. And whilst we're talking about the book, I'd be more than happy to share a couple of copies of books with your listeners if you're interested, just like last time.
Oh, okay. Okay, let's do that. Yeah, definitely. If we have two books, that means one of the books goes to the listeners of the free podcast, and the second book would go to the listeners of the premium podcast. And as always, to the listeners of the free podcast, if you want to participate, send an email to pmpodcast@gmail.com. In the subject, put the word lazy, as in the lazy project manager, and send that to me by, well, that's a good question. I'm not quite sure yet when this interview is going to go out. So listen to the end. At the end of this interview, I will insert this once we finish up the episode, and I will tell you by when it needs to get to me. But it's probably going to be somewhere around the 20th of January 2010. By that's the date by when I will need your email for that. And everybody who's listening to the premium version here doesn't have to do anything at all. You're automatically entered into this. All right. My last question for you, Peter. If someone is currently in the process of starting a PMO, what 3 to 5 questions would you say that they need to ask their customers, just like you asked your customers when you started out, to ensure that the PMO that they build is based on the true customer need and not on some construct in their heads or in the head of the PMO manager? So what do they need to ask their constituents?
Yeah, okay. I would definitely recommend, if at all possible, running some kind of workshop, and I'd do it in this way. I would get the customers of the new PMO to describe the challenges that they've got. That's how we went about it in our PMO. We asked them what challenges they faced, and worked back from that to reflect what a PMO could do. So I think the questions you're going to ask them are going to be based on that sort of initial questions or initial issues that they face. You're going to ask them about, how confident are they in the health of their projects, for example. You're going to ask them how risk averse are their engagements as they have in place at the moment. You're going to ask them what worries them on a regular basis about the sort of things that they're measured on, is it just on the typical things within the project of schedule, of margin, and so forth, or is there something that all of these projects deliver towards the business? I mean, that will depend on whether we're talking about a PMO that is dealing with internal projects, or a PMO that's dealing with external projects, or the combination. But yeah, my guidance would be start with a workshop and just listen to what people are telling you, and try and map that in some way to what a PMO could do, and then you can construct from that the appropriate sort of PMO, which is around the supportive, controlling, or directive, or probably, I think it's more likely that it's going to be some combination of those sort of things. And you can understand what the priorities are. Is it methodology? Is it project management guidance and mentoring? Is it measurement and metrics? Is it knowledge sharing? Whatever it may be.
Excellent. So to repeat, ask them to describe their challenges, ask them whether they're confident in the health of their projects, find out about their risk adversity on the projects, what worries they have. But I think most importantly, listen to them, right? Listen to what it is that they're saying, and that will help you to determine what your PMO is supposed to do. Is that a good summary?
I think it's a very good summary.
Excellent. Peter, thank you so much for coming back and presenting your white paper to us. And I'm really looking forward to our next interview where we're going to talk about the lessons learned that you had here with this 3-year journey. That's going to be a good one as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
And that was our interview with Peter Taylor. And as I promised during the interview, here is the correct information of how you can win a copy of his book. If you are a premium subscriber, then there is nothing you have to do. You're already enrolled. If you are a listener of the free podcast, however, then please send an email with the subject lazy to our new email address, which is info@pm-podcast.com. And don't forget, it's important to put that dash in there, pm-podcast.com, and send it to me by February 2nd, 2010. That's it for today. Thank you very much for listening. At this point in the last few episodes, I have always asked you to please tell just one person about the Project Management Podcast. Well, I'd like to ask you for something different today. Would you mind endorsing the Project Management Podcast in 140 characters or less? If you have a Twitter account, then I would really appreciate it if you put out a tweet and tell people that you enjoy the program, and they should go and check it out as well at pmpodcast.com. Thank you. As always, you can find us on the web at www.pm-podcast.com. If you are a project manager who wants to become a PMP, then the easiest way to do so is with our sister podcast, the PM Prepcast, and study for the exam by watching over 38 hours of video training from pmprepcast.com. Please send your emails to info@pm-podcast.com, and when you write, please tell me where in the world you are writing from. And finally, we have this. Project management with lots of documents is not project management. Until next time.